Oh my god. Okay, I really hope this camera is straight because it's on a stand thing and it's like hovering. So if it's slightly like that, that's my bad. And also I need everyone to know I'm wearing blue and my shirt has dragons on it. So I am on theme. Hi, my name is Bam. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is a review of Heavenly Bodies by lmaoo. This is my most anticipated release, and 2 days ago I uploaded a reading vlog for it. So if you want less spoilers, go and watch that, because I'm going to go into more detail about things in this video. This is not a non-spoiler review because I am incapable of doing those. I'm so sorry. Generally, I've tried to structure this as best I can. This is the first review that I'm doing on my channel, and it's the first review I'm doing in a while. I haven't reviewed a book in a while because I haven't read a book in a while. But I'm gonna sort of generally talk about prose and structure, as well as like primarily characters, and I'll talk a little bit about the plot and everything. So, and if you see me looking down, it's because I have my computer which has notes on it. So it's mostly just so I don't go off on a tangent, because I am very capable of doing that. Yes, this is a self-published debut novel, and I heard about it last year from the author's Instagram. So this is technically my most anticipated release of this year, because otherwise I don't really like follow releases very often, because I have never really done that. Yeah, so in this novel, we follow a girl called Alara, who's the princess of the kingdom of Asteria, and she's fleeing her country because a star has fallen and waged war on her people. Her parents are dead, her friends are missing, and she's all alone running to the kingdom of Helios, which is the neighbouring country, but also her kingdom's kind of biggest enemy. Asteria wields the powers of darkness, and Helios wields the powers of light, so you can kind of see why they wouldn't get along. And in the kingdom of Helios, Alara meets Enzo, Prince Lorenzo, and they don't like each other at first. It's very much enemies to lovers, but Enzo is tasked with training her to develop her power and help her in becoming a weapon, as his father puts it, to defeating Ariette. And we go from there. So that is the general breakdown of the beginning of the plot without going into too much spoilers. So now I'm going to put this on my shelf. So I'll start with general like things, so that'll be like the prose and everything, and I'll talk a bit about the plot here as well. So the plot I generally quite enjoyed. It was pretty like typical in terms of like fantasy, but it was done quite well and I did quite enjoy it, and that's kind of all I can really say about it, because I'll go into more detail about certain things later. The prose, I quite like Amani's writing style. She is quite good at feelings and description. Her diversity feels very natural, unlike in other places where it just kind of feels like characters are put in there to be a diversity thing, but she does a really good job of making the world feel big. There are lots of different countries in Celestia and all of the people are very different, and even within our main crew that is very apparent, and it feels very like, you know, casual, and it doesn't feel forced, which I like quite like. her descriptive work is really, really nice. She does an amazing job of making the places that we go to feel different. So like Aphrodite feels different from Sol, and everywhere feels different from Mysteria, and like there's just different vibes for everywhere. And like she just does a really, really nice job of like descriptions and things. In some of the early chapters, Alara and Enzo go to a bazaar in the main city of Sol, and just the vibe that is created when we first get there is really, really nice. I don't know, I as a descriptive writer, I loved her descriptive work, and like there's also a lot of light imagery which plays into the themes of the book and the themes of the characters, and it was just really, really pretty. I think the main thing that I noticed that was consistent in terms of her writing was generally she wrote how she spoke in certain places, which that's just kind of what I call it. I don't know if it's like an official rule of writing, it feels like it is. So like in the prose, not in character dialogue because that's fine, but in the prose that would be like dropping ofs after certain words and writing round instead of around. Like, yeah, I don't know if it's an official rule, but outside of dialogue it feels weird. And it reads a little bit oddly. So that was just something that I noticed consistently throughout it, but it's not so intrusive as to ruin the writing. And then the only spelling mistake I distinctly remember is there was one sentence somewhere where heart was spelled heard, and the only reason I remember that one is because I read that sentence like 3 times before I understood what it was supposed to be saying, and oh my god, I felt stupid, but also it wasn't my fault. So the structure. The structure is the thing that I have the most issues with because it affects the pacing. Generally, from how I read it, the book is very, very character driven, and that makes it kind of slow in some places. Not a lot of plot happens until like the halfway point, and then right at the very end, everything else is purely characters. And like, I do like the characters enough to enjoy that. It's just that when the quick things happened, it made the pacing feel weird, but that might just be me having not read in a while, so that might be on me. But I think generally the pacing kind of suffers from the structure, which I have the most notes for because it bugged me. I felt like the book was a little too long. There are some scenes that literally could have been thrown in other places, and chapters that were wholly unnecessary. Like there is one chapter that is purely just Alara's on her period and Enzo becomes a heating pad for her, and I'm like, that's great for the character dynamic, but it was kind of pointless. Like, I didn't feel it needed to be there because that interaction could have been literally anywhere else. Like, if you wanted Enzo to be that kind of, to be a heating pad, he could have done it for an injury during training, which would have like melded in with the plot a little bit better. But it kind of, that chapter felt really out of place and like generally pointless a bit. Another thing was that we didn't linger on certain things for very long. Like, Alara literally gets kidnapped and tortured, and she's over it in like 70 pages after she's been rescued. And I felt weird about that. I feel like that's something that you really should like be affected by more, and it didn't really feel like she was affected by it, which I'm like, good for you, bestie, but it's a bit strange. The biggest thing that was my biggest reaction in my reading vlog was they had a whole breakup thing. It wasn't really a breakup because they weren't officially together, but like one of my least favorite tropes happened. And frankly, I don't think the breakup art plotline needed to happen, or if it was going to happen, it should have happened somewhere else. because it just happened really late and it felt weird and like just in there to drag out like the relationship happening. It felt forced for the sake of making it more of a slow burn, even though like it really didn't need to be there. But yeah, not only was it my least favorite trope, which is characters making choices for other people and disregarding their love interest's feelings for the sake of their own, which is selfish as fuck. But yeah, it's just really pointless because it lasts 2 chapters and then they're over it and then it's never mentioned again. And it's just, why was it there? Like, what was the point? Like, I have to say that this book is the one book that I have read in a really long time that earned its smut. Like, there was sexual tension built from the get-go, and like in other books like The Love Hypothesis, the smut, I mean, I didn't read the smut in The Love Hypothesis, I skipped it because it wasn't earned, because the romantic relationships were developed more than like the sexual tension of it, whereas this book had both, and I appreciated that because even though I still laughed reading the smut, because I always do, it felt more deserved. However, this plotline nearly ruined it. I nearly didn't want it to happen because it felt like ruined. It was a stupid argument, honestly. And just from a standpoint of like my opinion, because these are all my opinions and you don't have to agree with me, if the plotline was desperately needed, everything should have been shifted and it could have been lifted and put before the kidnapping happened. Because frankly, I feel like the feelings that she had really should have been like referenced earlier, and it kind of was, but it also wasn't. And then it just like came out of nowhere and I was like, oh, okay, I guess you're having a meltdown now. But yeah, like the kidnapping thing could have been affected by that, because then Enzo doing the literal most to save her and like the siren bit afterwards kind of would have held a lot more weight, like, because they held a lot of weight anyway, but it would have held like even more if this plotline had happened before, because it would have been him proving that he doesn't care about her prophecy and like he just wants to be with her, you know? And like it would have been good for her to like realize while she's going through her healing process that she doesn't have to suffer because of her prophecy, you know? Yeah. Plus, if the kidnapping thing was moved later, it would have minimized the gap between the kidnapping and the final confrontation with Ariette, which would have put more weight on Alara fighting him, like, and getting back at him for killing Sophia and torturing her. And, you know, what he does to Enzo. So, yeah, I just feel like the general structure of things could have used some work. And also, I thought about this while I was writing my notes, but things are mentioned that are never mentioned again. There's this whole thing about this village that Enzo is supposed to have destroyed, but then he admits that he saved all of the people and they're living in a forest somewhere. And like, it's never brought up again. Like, I thought when I read that bit that we were gonna like visit that village at some point and Alara would have some kind of connection to her home and like her people, and like this would have been a group of people that would have like stood behind Alara no matter what, and it would have been quite nice to see her like interact with her people and not just the people of Seoul. But it's mentioned that one time and then they never bring it up again, to the point that I forgot that it happened until I was writing these notes. So why was that there? And yeah, so that is that, and I'm going to talk about the characters now, because I have some feelings about some characters, but overall I liked the cast. So we'll start with Alara, our main girl. She's definitely a complex character. Oh my god. She goes through the most and she does the most. I did notice she's kind of stupid. Like, not in a mean way, because like, I would expect that of someone who's a shut-in, which she's, like, a self-admitted one, but then also, like, she claims that Sophia took her out to get her some life experience, so I kind of wouldn't expect her to react to some situations the way that she did, but she does, and it's kind of confusing, but also, yeah, she's been shut in her whole life, she's not going to be the smartest. I'm sorry, Alara, but you did make some stupid choices. I love you though. She had a great breakthrough at the end. I was so proud of her when she realized that, like, the Enzo that was betraying her wasn't actually Enzo. I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God you used your brain for 1 minute. And also, she's the victim of propaganda. So, but, like, Enzo kind of is as well. And that is done quite well. The way that propaganda affects people and their relationships with others is done really nicely. So good job. Alara is also very defensive and very impulsive, but girl, same. Me too. I get it. I understand. Same wavelength. I get it. Enzo, right? Enzo is a little shit, and I love him. He's great. The thing is, he has the potential to be such a good character because he has so many good traits. He's such a sweet guy. Like, he's just a little dude. But some things fall flat, and it's kind of disappointing. But I still love him. My heart. But he suffers from what most male characters seen through the perspective of a woman suffer from, which is his character revolves too much around Alara, to the point where he doesn't feel like a well-rounded person. Like, lots of male love interests suffer, like, lots of love interests suffer from this when we're stuck in a very limited perspective and we don't explore other perspectives. So, yeah. Without really getting to see him alone with other characters like Leo and Ursa, who are supposed to be his childhood friends, we don't get much of who he is when he's not clinging to Alara. And I wish we would have gotten to see at least more hints of that and what he was like without Alara to base his entire personality on. And unfortunately, with the way that the sequel is looking to go, we're probably not going to get much of that in the future. But I could be surprised, and I hope I'm surprised, because I do just want to see Enzo interact with more people that are not Alara. Because I feel like there's more to his person than what we got. And yeah, but I still like him. Then there are our beloved side characters. Leo is my favourite. I love that man. He is like the only man with a fucking brain cell in this group. And like, his infatuation with Marissa is so cute. And he's just so strong. Like, he's so cool. I love the way that he utilizes his power. Because it is just like a very interesting way to do it, you know? And I don't know why, but like halfway through, I started picturing him as Domhnall Gleeson, and I cannot begin to explain to you when or why that happened. It just did. They just have the same vibes. I don't know how to explain it. Like, but in my head, Leo is Domhnall Gleeson, and I can't change that now. Marissa is cool. I do feel like we really glossed over the fact that she lied about a really big part of her, but, you know, she's nice, so whatever, I guess. I do really, really want to see her in battle more, because she's a demigod. I feel like she could be so strong, and I always love seeing the soft characters go absolutely feral. Like, I want to see Marissa go crazy. I want to see her go stupid. I want to see her protect Leo with her life in the same way that Leo would protect her with his. I just want more Leo and Marissa because they're so cute and I love them. Us as a lesbian, need I say more? I'm kidding, mostly. She's also really cool. Haha, that's a joke because she has ice powers. I do wish I could have seen more of her friendship with Leo and Enzo, because we didn't get loads of them and they're supposed to be childhood friends, and I just kind of wanted to see more of them all together as a trio, because I feel like they'd be a really powerful trio together. But her friendship with Marissa and Alara is really sweet, and I do love a good, healthy female friendship, because we don't always get that, and I love to see it, so yay. And then there's Sophia, which I'm counting her in this group because she's mentioned so much, but she's a weird case, because we don't know her very well, and I feel like we didn't know her enough to form an opinion on her and like her. So we don't have a proper relationship with her when she dies, because I was more shocked than I was sad, and like, she was used pretty exclusively to push Alara's character forward, and I still don't really know how to feel about that, because like, it gives the same energy as male characters who do things exclusively because their former female love interest died. So I guess I'll let you make your own conclusions on how to feel about that. But I especially kind of felt weird that it was made into such a big thing. And like, I get it, she died and she was Alara's like only friend when she was a kid. But we know next to nothing about this girl. And throughout the rest of the book after her death, we're like being asked to care about this person that like we barely knew. And it just felt like I was being asked to care about something when we barely lost anything, because she didn't really make that much of like an impact in terms of like the present kind of group. And it just, I don't know. I felt like she could have been like developed and seen way more, to the point where her death actually meant something. But like, other than pushing Alara's character forward, she didn't do anything. And I do feel really weird about characters being exclusively to push people forward, like, unless it's kind of in the past and it's something that like still affects someone. But like, this just, I don't know how to explain why I felt weird, and I just didn't feel anything whenever Sophia was brought up, because she just didn't make that much of an impact on me. Ariette, he's unhinged in the best way possible. Yeah, Imani does a really good job with him, because he isn't human. Like, he's a star, so he's like a god, and that means that he doesn't have to be realistic, and he's not. What? His reasons for doing some of the things that he does is like so dumb, but like, they don't make any sense in like a logical way. But for someone like him, I don't really care, to be fair. Like, he is not a human, so he doesn't have to work by human rules, and like, he's literally so delusional, like, that most of his stuff works. He's pretty great. I just like seeing a villain who is like absolutely unsalvageable as a person. Plus I'm an Aries, so I kind of have to love him just a little bit. And then we have the extras. Lucas is forgettable, quite frankly. He's cool for like Alara's backstory with love and everything, but he also doesn't do anything. Like, he shows up once and then he dies, and like, I just feel like he could have been utilized way more, and otherwise he just kind of felt pointless. Yeah. Bruno is just a baker that shows up a couple of times, and he's just, I don't know, I love him. He's memorable and I want to see more of him. That's all. And King Idris is weird. I didn't like him from the get-go. He says some really weird things and I don't like him. I think that's kind of that's everything I had notes for. I feel like I spoke really quickly, and like, I'm sorry about that. I'm a very fast speaker when I know what I'm talking about. I'll work on it, I promise. I probably also spoke more about negative things than I did positive things, just because it's kind of easier to talk about the critiques than just to be like, oh my god, this was good, this is like great and everything. But I tried to, you know, talk about what I could, and I did give the book 4 stars, so if that tells you anything, it tells you that I enjoyed it even with the things that I would have changed. So yeah, and frankly I'm glad that this video didn't go on for so long, because I didn't want to argue with my storage again like I did yesterday, because that would have absolutely killed me. If you've read this book, discuss it with me in the comments. We can actually talk spoilers now. I'd love to hear if you felt differently to me, or if you agreed with me. Like, discussing books is all about having like healthy discussions about things that we liked and disliked, and I would love to have that with some of you. Subscribe if you would like to see more from me. I do want to try and do more reviews, and hopefully I'll get better at them. And yeah. Thanks for watching. I will see you at some point, either in this month or next month. I really don't know. I don't have any other videos planned for the rest of this month, but if I read something that I particularly feel like I need to talk about, I will. I hope this wasn't too crazy, and I hope I spoke about enough that it didn't feel weird, you know. I'll get better at doing reviews, I promise. Yeah, follow me on Instagram as well. It's the same as this channel name. I'll probably post more there throughout this month than I will here, so go keep up with me. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you at some point later. That was the weirdest way I could have said that. Whatever. Bye.